Welcome back to another episode of Thinking That Matters. I'm your host, Elizabeth Mahusai, and I am here with a very dear friend, an amazing, really just colleague in life here in the McKinney, Texas area, Miss Amber Gaige. So Amber, tell us who you are, what you do, and I just can't wait for people to know more about you.
It's so fun to be here. Other than being a raging fan of yours and your sweet husband's, I am a fellow McKinneyite and seventh generation McKinney native, and the owner of Far Beyond Marketing. And I am a third generation entrepreneur. So I had the privileged background of School of Hard Knocks, where we learned that resources and relationships are so hugely important in the business world, and you have to work smarter in order to get your business where you want it to be. And that was the foundation for me of starting Far Beyond Marketing, was to do marketing and more for entrepreneurs so that they can get more out of their marketing, they can achieve those dreams, and they can impact their communities.
I love that. Seventh generation? I didn't know you were a seventh generation McKinneyite.
Yeah, McKinneyite, native.
McKinneyite.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just made up that term, but it sounds good.
And third generation entrepreneur. So maybe let's start there because, you know, a lot of folks who listen, they are entrepreneurs, they're business owners, or they desire to be entrepreneurs or business owners because they might be working for one. You know, as a third generation entrepreneur, maybe give a little bit of that background, that history there.
Sure. Well, when I said School of Hard Knocks, I meant in entrepreneurship, as you and your listeners know, it is not for everyone. Entrepreneurship requires a tenacity and a commitment to servant leadership that I think no other vocation in the world really does. So my grandfather on my mother's side, so my maternal grandfather, was an entrepreneur. He did many things. He was a TV repairman. He, I think, had a click-clack shop. He sold coins. He dabbled in a little bit of real estate. And so he did not go to university. He was absolutely just self-made man in everything that he did. And then my mother was the first in her family to go to college. And when she married my dad, he was a master plumber. And his high school teacher said, if you don't straighten up and act right, you're going to end up spending your life digging ditches. And here he is. He digs ditches, and he was very happy. He dug ditches for 40 years.
Wow.
But my mother ended up getting 3 college degrees and a dual master's degree, and they partnered together. And I can think of many times throughout our family history where it was beans and cornbread for dinner, because that's all we could get. And it was rolling quarters so that my brothers could buy lunch at school. And it was hard. But then the good times came too. And I'm happy to say that they have built very successful businesses. They have 5 companies. And my dad is fully retired now. And that's the life I grew up in. I grew up homeschooling and working in the family business until this little bird was ready to take flight on her own. So Far Beyond Marketing is my second company that I've launched.
That's right. It is your second company. I'm just appreciating what you were saying about, what did you say? Beans and
cornbread.
Beans and cornbread. You know, my dad, I think in some ways, you know, I don't know that he would have chosen the entrepreneurial life, but he chose to move away just to escape some family drama. And he became an entrepreneur, commercial fisherman, and we worked in the northern panhandle of Florida. And I'm just appreciating what you were saying. I mean, I can remember standing in food stamp lines.
Yep.
And chicken for practically every dinner.
Every meal.
Cornflakes for breakfast. And I tell people to this day, I do not eat, nor will I eat cornflakes. Right? And of course I can't now because I'm gluten-free. But I guess with cornflakes, maybe they don't have wheat in them. I haven't eaten them in so long.
I don't think you'd even put yourself through it. Why do it, right?
I said no to those so many. Fred would always laugh at me because I never got sweet cereal when I was growing up.
Yeah. It's too expensive.
Exactly.
We couldn't buy sweet cereal.
So when we had children, don't you know, we had Lucky Charms and Frosted Flakes and like all the things.
It's the good life that we do for our children. You have no idea how badly.
So, but I'm appreciating what you were saying, that just that hard knocks, you know, and even now we remind ourselves of the don't work, don't eat.
Absolutely.
You know, so you said something that really caught my attention about, you know, the Far Beyond Marketing, and you have this passion for helping entrepreneurs and small businesses really get their marketing message out there. So I would love for you to share, like, why are you so passionate about marketing?
So I think it comes from an automatic assumption of my background in the trades being that tradespeople don't know anything, or tradespeople get taken advantage of so often by. And I have a love for traditional marketing agencies, so this is not hating on them by any means. But when you come from a blue collar background, I think you have an appreciation for the value of a dollar.
Amen.
And marketing has a negative connotation in the mind of so many entrepreneurs. When you hear a marketing agency or you hear marketing my business, I feel like the first thing that comes to mind is a whirlwind of dollars going down the drain, and you don't know if it's going to help you. You don't know if it's going to grow your business. You feel like you're just blowing $100 bills into the abyss. And so I knew that I could change that. And I knew from a 10-year history of family business and with success of proven methodologies of marketing on a local level and a national level, that I could apply practical methods of marketing to businesses and help them see a return on investment. And so when I was praying about what my business needed to be, the Lord just brought to mind Ephesians 3:20, far beyond what I could ask or imagine. And I thought, that is what every entrepreneur sets out to do. We set out with a dream to make a difference for our families, to make a difference in our industry, to make a difference for our communities. And when we hold up an entrepreneur, we hold up our societies. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping them market effectively without wasting money and without sacrificing their sanity. Because the last thing you want to do after a busy day of doing all the things in a business, let me go home and check the ROI of my Google ad. Yeah, that's so fun. No one wants to do that.
I think you really captured, though, the essence, because as a coach, I have several clients that are in that blue collar space, including plumbing, electrical, construction, roofing. And I think it is a very common pain point that I hear, which is I feel like I'm just bleeding money for marketing, and I don't even really know that it's working.
Right.
Or I feel like it is, but is it worth it? Is it, there's all of these questions that surround it. So when you said that even just the word marketing tends to have a negative connotation, I would agree with you with that. And I think there are a lot of factors that go into what makes effective marketing. And people need help navigating that. So how have you, because you spend time in blue collar
all the time
businesses, right? And you now really specialize in that area. I know it's not the only place you apply your marketing knowledge, but what have you learned over the course of, maybe if you gave one or two principles of things that you see are difference makers for effectiveness? I would just love to hear that, just so our listeners get a couple of practical things that I'm sure they're going to find in your book that we're going to talk about.
I was absolutely going to say, well, I did write a book and publish it this year for this purpose, because I felt like every business owner needed to have a guidebook in their back pocket, so that when they were meeting with a marketing agency or vendor, they could go spade to spade and say, I understand what these terms are. I understand the difference between local marketing and national marketing. I can discuss, at least on a broad level, the difference between search engine optimization and paid media, pay-per-click. So I'll give you a couple of things that I think are really helpful in knowing what to do and what not to do. Number one is always clarify your message. The number one thing that I hear all the time from business owners is the same thing over and over again from multiple business owners in the same area. So, for example, if you go to a networking event at a local chamber of commerce, and let's say you have two plumbers there, you're going to hear something very similar from both plumbers. And so how does the end consumer know which plumber to hire? The same could be said for insurance agents. The same could be said for virtually anything. Photographers,
Yes,
right? We all promise beautiful images, and that's why with your company, with your husband's company, it's not a headshot, it's a Fred shot.
That's right.
Right? And so that's the number one, is always know how to talk about your business in a way that sets you apart from the competition. I am a StoryBrand guide. I got that certification a few years ago. There's 600 of us in the world. StoryBrand helps to clarify a message so that people will stop and pay attention and call your business. So clarifying your message is number one.
So important. And that idea, I do appreciate what you were saying of being able to speak on more equal level.
Yes.
And to have a greater understanding of what's happening in a meeting, for example, to even discuss marketing for that matter. And, to your point of clarifying that message, I of course, for those who are watching and listening, Fred and I, my husband, Fred, we own Fred Shots Photography. And so we sat down with Amber to have her do a StoryBrand guide for Fred Shots. And you did actually the same for my speaking business as well.
Yeah.
And it really is such a cool process to go through in order to move the end consumer through this process of coming to a decision.
Yes.
Because isn't that what we want? I mean, marketing is to bring people to a decision, yes or no.
Yes.
Get people off the maybe bench and actually into the game, or to go get into another game, whatever it is. But it's to bring people to a decision. And so I think that's an important aspect. Now, you said this was your second business.
Yes.
So what had you thinking, because this whole podcast is around thinking, what had you thinking, I want to start my own business? Because you're a third generation entrepreneur. So you've seen the good, the bad, the ugly. What happened in your mind where you're like, okay, this bird's ready to fly on her own?
There was a mind set shift, Elizabeth, and it was a big one. And it's called motherhood. And I knew from being raised by entrepreneurial parents that there is a blessing in freedom that trumps finances. That when you can set your freedom, you can control your time, you can control your destiny. And so the mindset of freedom was a huge reason for me to jump back into the entrepreneurial world. And I knew that as a mother, I had one opportunity to be a hands-on mom. And at the time that my son was born, I had sold my first business. I scaled it in 5 years. It was a lead generation company for home services companies. I sold that business and I was working in private equity. And I think we have a choice. We can either become a slave to our business. We can become a slave to someone else's business. For those of you who are currently employed and considering entrepreneurship, the tendency is the same. The choice is what defines your idea of success. And for me, the idea of success was being really, really present for my family. And so I prayed about it. I am married to a wonderful man who was so supportive. And he was like, yeah, go ahead. You thrive under pressure, you little pressure cooker. Which is not exactly a compliment to my physique, if you've ever seen a pressure cooker. But anyway, I digress.
We digress.
I digress. And he said, I think it's time. And so that was my why, was to jump back and go, it's time to stop being dependent upon someone else's business. It's time to be dependent upon myself and raise my child.
I love it. How old is your son?
My son is 8 this year in November, with the attitude of an 18-year-old. All the prayers, please.
Having two adult sons myself, I know exactly how to pray for you.
Please do.
Having an 8-year-old. But I mean, I knew you. I mean, in those, we first met in those early stages, and I love that when you said motherhood. Motherhood was the mind shift that you needed.
And you inspired me. Can I just say, you were a huge inspiration to me, because we sat down for coffee and you said, do you want a faith-based business or a faith-led business? Girl, I should have tattooed that on my arm. I mean, you have just been a constant inspiration to me. And I thank you for that, because I have always looked up to you and always been like, where's Elizabeth speaking? I'm going. What does that lady have to say?
So because one of the questions that I always like to ask when it's appropriate for listeners is the faith piece. So I'm curious, because someone listening may go, well, what was significant about that? What did that do in you when I asked you that question?
It produced another level of commitment, of surrender, because another opportunity for us to have a healthy mindset is, do we want to control freak our way into anxiety, which I would never.
I mean, I don't know that I can relate to that.
No.
I mean, we are very much alike. I just want to say, I'm just an older version.
A taller, thinner, blonder version, but I'm not bitter. Not bitter, says the pressure cooker. But anyway, do we want to control freak our way into entrepreneurial hell? Or do we want to have freedom in trusting the Lord that He is in control and our best will always be our best? And that for me, a faith-led business meant being able to leave it all on the table and say, God, this is the best I can do. Will you do with it what you will? That's being faith-led. That is trusting Him with the outcome, knowing there's a line of where my ability stops and His grace meets me. But faith-based, in my mind, was I will build this business based on foundational principles of faith, but it doesn't necessarily have to permeate the culture of the business.
I'm still going to be in control.
I'm still going to have that control. Give me that steering wheel. Jesus, you are not getting this wheel.
I appreciate you clarifying that, though, because I think that it's such an important shift. And so, so going back to, I just want you to know, I made a little note over here on my margin for Pick Your Path, because one of my future books, which is going to be on, 21 days to set your parenting on the right course, this idea of freedom versus finances and how it allows a parent to think differently about presence, right? I mean, because, I think about in the early days of when our boys, I'll just use when they were 8 and 6, because we have 2. We were making decisions. Could we have been making more money? Yes. Mm-hmm. Would we have been able to drop them off at school, pick them up from school, go to all the things? No.
Right.
Most likely not, based on what we were doing and the trajectory we were on. And so people oftentimes, they question like, well, why aren't you here? Or why aren't, but when you're faith led, I think another piece to that is it impacts your ability to not get caught up in trying to compare yourself to what everybody else is doing.
Oh, that's so good.
So for you, because you've been really aspiring to be more faith led, how have you seen that even with the choices that you've been making over the last 5-6 years?
Oh my goodness. It's been huge. It's been monumental. I mean, it directed the name of my business. When we first started the company, it was Saber Marketing Group, because I thought I was going to fight for my clients. Give me a sword, So it was a saber, right?
Right.
And then when I got quiet before the Lord, it was no, this is far beyond me. This is far beyond what my clients are. It's far beyond, because we're going to aspire to be better every day for them. And it's biblical. It's far beyond. So it's impacted our brand. It's impacted the way I hire.
Tell me about that.
So like-mindedness, I think, supersedes culture, gender, and geography. I hire for culture and for shared perspectives in how we work. I want to know that someone is going to go above and beyond for our clients. And I don't care where they live, what they look like, or, if their beliefs look different than mine. That's okay. As long as we're aligned with our ideas of servant leadership. And I'm happy to say I have this amazing team that only God could have brought together, that they like each other too, which is always helpful. So it's impacted our brand. It's impacted our culture. It impacts our clients too, because we don't work with people that are jerks. Life's too short.
Life is short. And isn't that interesting? And I think even I think someone listening is thinking, but Amber, how will I pay my bills if I don't say yes to everyone, even the jerks? What would you say to them?
I would say that something that I wrote in my book, I truly believe, and that is that not everyone is your customer. And that point number 2 of what I could share about having more effective marketing is pick a niche and stick to it. We are all guilty of accepting as much work as we can get in the early days. And I was thankful for every job I could get that first 60 days when I had 60 days of severance for my corporate job. Okay, what can I do? Can I scrub your floor? Sure, I will do it and put a sticker on it and call it marketing. But I think you have to be true to the core talents that God has given you, the services that you provide, and the products that you have been led to give the marketplace. And when you are really consistent with what you can do, then the people that appreciate that will come in droves. And I've actually heard it said, the more niche down you are, the more you can charge. Because you are more of a specialist, right?
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen that even in Fred Schatz, because he really specializes in headshots or better known as Fred Schatz, right? And as a matter of fact, he always says there are headshots and then there are Fred Schatz.
Preach.
But I think you are right that it is a matter of that. So something that you said that I think that goes along with that thought process. You said you hire based on like-mindedness, and it supersedes gender, culture, geography, all of those things. Well, like-mindedness we might call a niche, right? We're niching into what is it like to work as a team? What are we looking for? If we're really aligning our minds, that we got to get pretty specific on knowing that. So I think for someone listening, that's an incredibly important principle that applies in a lot of different areas. Yes, for marketing, but the hiring piece I think is so incredibly important, which means, for example, if they're going to hire a marketing company, then there needs to be a like-mindedness.
Yes.
So that there is alignment where that is concerned. So when you think about that, what have you seen has been some of the challenges from a marketing standpoint? Like if you could wave a magic wand and you could make things better in the space of marketing, whether it's blue collar or for any company, what would be some of the things that you would want to change?
Such a good question, Elizabeth. I would want to change the accessibility of the analytics, meaning right now it is so hard for business owners investing their money in marketing to know if it's working. You have to be an expert at a Google dashboard or some kind of CRM that gives you the results. And actually, with the help of AI, we are seeing much more transparency in the industry of marketing. People are holding their contractors to a higher standard. They are. And we are able to produce better real-time data to show them the full funnel of where the leads are coming from. And I will tell you that another thing I would change is we have this mindset of last click means that's where that phone call came from. And that is absolutely not true. In general, the average person in the United States has 11,000 marketing messages thrown at them in a day.
That's a lot.
It is too much. But we assume as business owner that if we get a report that says someone clicked on my PPC ad, therefore that PPC ad generated that for me, so therefore I should put more money in the PPC ad. Well, how many times did that consumer encounter your brand before
they even saw the PPC ad?
Exactly. So it does take patience and an understanding that people have to encounter your brand no less than 10 times before they ever take an action to buy. And just because they saw you on TV or heard you on the radio doesn't mean.
I think that's okay. What you are sharing there, it's so important because it's a mindset of being reactive. See, last click equals, that's reactive.
Yes.
Versus 10 times that led to the taking of action. That's the realization that I have to be proactive and consistent in my marketing to have the visibility that moves people to action and to recognize we need a much more holistic thought process around
Yes.
marketing. Is that making sense?
Oh, total sense. And it's tip number 3 in my book.
Oh, tell me,
Yes.
please.
You have to have a plan. You don't have a shotgun approach to your marketing. You must be consistent. You can't be reactive. You've got to be proactive in a consistent marketing plan, well diversified, so that you have local marketing and you have high frequency and all the things that I line
Right.
out. But yes, totally.
I love that. Maybe in full disclosure, that came from the fact that I've read Amber's book and the Lord just brought it to my mind.
Well, amen.
But it is true. I think that part of what I see in the business space is a lot of reactivity. And I also see, to your point, that the accessibility of the analytics being so hidden for the most part, that what happens is, people are investing thousands and thousands of dollars. They're not getting a return quickly enough. And so then they go into reactionary mode of either we just have to cut it all off, or we have to switch it up, or we have to do something different, or we fire you and hire you. And as a result, then they really lose track of what really does work.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I would be curious if you had to identify other limiting beliefs that small business owners, or really just businesses in general, have around marketing, what would be some that you would share?
I can't afford it.
Okay.
Not true. Even if you can market on a local level, I call that guerrilla marketing, you can afford it. You can print something at your office that looks good, not ugly, consistently branded, please, but you can always do something that is within your budget.
I love that. Now, because that's something that I think we hear a lot. And it's not even just about marketing. People will say, I can't afford to eat better, or I can't afford to exercise, or I mean, we could apply that to so many different things. I mean, you and I grew up in entrepreneurial households. I mean, there were a lot of things that where we might hear or even think our own selves can't afford it.
Yes.
And so that I love your thought process is take action in a way that you can.
Yes, absolutely.
Take action in the way that you can. So I appreciate that. And I mean, just the simplicity of just print something that looks decent, that is branded consistently in order to be able to get your message.
Right.
Get your message out there.
Put a sign on a vehicle and wash the vehicle. Yeah. You can do something.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that. What's another one that you would say you hear regularly?
I would say that something else I hear regularly about marketing is I don't need it.
Oh.
I get all my leads from word of mouth and referral. I've never had to spend a dime on marketing, and I don't need to.
I can tell you've heard that because your tone changed. So your response to that?
Bless your heart. No, that's not really what I say. I might think that. No, that's going to take you so far. And as long as your business goals are content and you have no desire to scale, then that's okay. And you know what? I think it's worth mentioning, Elizabeth, not every business owner wants to scale.
That's correct.
That's okay. But if you do, you have to market.
Yeah. I think that's an important, okay, there's so many different things that you just said that I think are important. First is a business owner needs clarity on where they're going.
Yes.
Are we content? And even then, as a business coach, I would make the case that if ever we are fully contented, at some point we go into decline.
Yes.
Because there is a certain amount of fixed mindset that's occurring there. But initially, to your point, people do need to understand where they're going. Because you can be content and still growing. What I mean is you're growing your skill, you're growing your knowledge, but you're just not looking to scale to massive heights, right? But you still have to know. And I think that's the important thing. So the don't need it, that's a very fixed mindset, right? Because I could, I think that when people get there, then it's just so easy to fall into complacency. Because, we could probably, I'm sure if you were debating and it was, even if I want to just maintain a certain level of business, what arguments in the debate would you give to still have a certain level of marketing?
Argument number one is business is not the same as it was when you started your company. Buying online and give it to me now is more prevalent than it has ever been, regardless of the industry, from medical care. I mean, if I can book a pediatrician appointment for my child and look down his throat with a camera and get help at midnight, I mean, that's a give it to me now society, right?
Yes.
So I want it now means that as a business, you better be positioned when your client comes to buy. Top of mind awareness is also another reason for marketing, because someone will always be better, smarter, and faster than you. That's what my family has always said. Baby girl, you better stay humble because there's always someone better than you. And the truth of the matter is that's true. But the relationships that we have and the commitment to our brand because of those relationships and the brand awareness means that even if there is someone better than me, people will still buy from me. Loyalty, yeah. Brand loyalty, which is dependent upon brand awareness.
Ooh, that's big right there. Brand loyalty dependent upon brand awareness. That's so many good things. So many good things there. And we lived this. I was in direct sales for 19 years, and amazing company. Loved the faith-based, faith-led. One of the things that we learned really through the course of that was this idea of business. This was not the same as when it was started. And as our culture was shifting to online shopping, because we were so committed as a company to personal interaction, we were slow adopters to, even just things like an online catalog, not to mention online shopping. And by the time that we got to online catalog, we were already pretty late to the party, as they say. And by the time we got to online shopping, we were way late to the party. And
so hard to catch up.
It is. And then, and so as a result, when you're in catch-up mode, is not, it can be ugly. Let's just put it that way. And so I have lived these things that you were saying, and ultimately that business closed their doors.
Yeah.
And so I think that's my point of, as business owners, it's getting people to that realization of, I need to constantly be in growth mindset, and that brand awareness, even if you're doing a little bit of marketing, helps to cultivate brand loyalty. Love that.
And for you, at that point in time, you were a contributor to a larger organization versus now as a coach, you have more control over the direct decisions that you make as a business owner. And so you hit on something really important that I want to point out too, is that your decision as a business owner impacts the livelihood, and future of your team members.
Correct.
So, that had a direct impact on you.
Yeah.
And you've carried that with you to this day in a positive way, because you go out there and get it, girl. I know how hard you work and how hard you encourage your clients to work, right? Yeah. And I think that's because you have walked that road.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think that, because you've been an entrepreneur for so long, it's how can we take every opportunity of what are we learning and how can we utilize it for good?
Absolutely.
Right? So now we're both faith-based people. So I always like asking when I share that in common with my guest, and you actually, in many ways, led us early on faith-led. But even now, how would you say that faith plays a role in what you're doing as you're building a marketing company? So I'd love for you to share just even more specifically how you're building that faith, the faith-based in, but you're allowing your faith to lead?
Sure. Well, I think the most obvious answer, Elizabeth, is that, most people have been burned by marketing or marketing agency. And one of my recent clients came to me and said, look, I spent thousands of dollars on all of these things, and they made me sign an annualized agreement, and I didn't get a single lead. So I was committed to spending thousands of dollars that never went back into the growth of my company. And so for me as a Christian, I want to know that I'm treating people like Jesus would treat them. And so we don't require annualized contracts. We want people to have the flexibility to walk away and say yes or say no. And that means allowing my team to do a little bit more work on the front end without the guarantee of as big of a paycheck as we probably could get, but trusting that that client is experiencing the results that they want, and they will reinvest with us for other areas. So upsell instead of constantly trying to just turn them and burn them. That's a big part.
So true. I mean, that's a big decision as a marketer to not have annualized agreements. I think that it is incredibly important, but when we are serving people well, and I know you mentioned servant leadership, Amber, earlier, you mentioned it a couple of times. I think when we're serving people well, that is brand, that is promoting the brand. It's cultivating brand loyalty, because people come back not because they're in a contract or an agreement. They come back because they've gotten value.
Right.
And that, I think, is such an important aspect of just an overall, even marketing approach for that matter, is that your work precedes, those decisions. I absolutely love that. So I'm definitely going to have you on for another episode because we haven't even really scratched the surface on so many things. But I do want you to tell them, how can they get your book?
Okay.
And also to really engage you more with the story branding, as well as how Far Beyond Marketing might help this listener or those listening or watching. So tell us more about that.
Awesome. Thank you, Elizabeth. And I will come back anytime because I'm a raving fan of yours. So you bet. Absolutely. So to help the entrepreneur, we offer a free consultation for anyone the first time. Okay. So you can find us online at www.farbeyondmarketing.com, and you can get a free marketing planner to help you be proactive and get a plan. So have at it. Go get a planner today on our website and book a free consultation. We'll talk. We'll talk for 30 minutes, maybe 45, and we will meet your listeners where they are, so that depending upon the life cycle of their business and their goals, we will do our best to make recommendations for where they should begin, not try and put them in a box of where most people would say, oh, you just need to do X, Y, and Z. There is no magic formula with marketing. It is trial and error. And so meeting them where they are with a customized consultation is the way that we can help. If you aren't ready to do that yet and you just want to learn more about marketing from the school of hard knocks from a plumber's kid who has crawled through ditches and delivered a few water heaters, you can go get my book on Amazon. It is the Far Beyond Marketing Guidebook by Amber Gaige. And I tell my husband that sounds like something that belongs on a dashboard, my Amber Gaige. But
I love it.
You can find it on Amazon. And I would love a review. I would love it if people would read the book and tell me what they thought.
Oh, that's awesome. And having read the book, I highly encourage people to pick up Amber's book. It really, even as I was reading it, and I do a lot in, not that I consider myself a marketing expert, but I'm just having conversations around marketing all the time. And I thought, just the average consumer out there can read your book and gain so much insight from it. It is, you did a really, really great job of helping marketing to be more consumable by the average person. And that, I think, is something that we all need so that we really can leverage it in a way that, especially in our social media rich world, that we understand even your social media posts are marketing.
Absolutely true. Marketing for the better or the worst.
It's true. It's creating a digital imprint, and people pay attention to it. So
Yep.
that could be a whole nother.
We could have a whole conversation.
We could have a whole other conversation about that. Oh, okay. Well, I ask every single guest. I always close out with, because the podcast is called Thinking That Matters. Why do you believe it's important to cultivate thinking that matters?
Thinking impacts everything in your life. Thinking impacts the way you live, the way you eat, the way you work. It impacts the people around you. If you can give yourself no other gift, change the way you think. I think it's hugely important.
Mic drop. Love it. Well, Amber, thank you so much. I am so grateful to have had you as a guest on the show.
So fun.
I just want to encourage the listeners, be sure if you have not subscribed or liked or left a review for Thinking That Matters, please do so. And we look forward to seeing you back here for our next episode.